I decided to let it go. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Time for that weekly mod collection demo shop update. And we're going to start it with a really cool Les Paul custom. They named it Winter Impressions 2, and let me tell you, this thing was really tempting at $5,500, and I decided to let it go and not buy it and document it, but it has so many cool things to it. So first off, we have the unique paint scheme. It's the dark blues and the light blues, the aquas, and a little bit of green. Depending on how you look at it, it can also be a blue flame pattern, but it's adorned with their chrome hardware, covered pickups, regular plastics. But then when you get to the fretboard, you can see it has the Super 400 inlays, which isn't what you normally find on a custom, so it kind of gave it an it factor. But then when you flip over to the back, it's just a piercing blue finish, which I would assume the sides are as well, and then we have an extended white stinger. But what's really interesting is the serial number does not look redone. So that tells me that A, this was either custom ordered this way, or B, the most likely option is this started life as a white custom, and then they did all the other paint job around it. That one had a lot going for it. But now we've got a cool pair of twins. This is a 64 335 reissue in Plumblast Sparkle. $48.99. At first I just thought this was a nice plum finish, but no, it is sparkly, just like the title says. But you get the gold hardware, which you don't find too often on these. And that's one that's gonna dance in the light and be gorgeous. Flipping it over to the backside, that was a complete refinish, top, back, etc. But they didn't go too crazy with the headstock or anything. That's a pretty hefty discount. I'm surprised it didn't sell instantaneously. But the other twin is a Gibson USA production. It's a little bit cheaper in Candy Apple Red. This one's a bit more subdued without the super sparkle in the finish, but it still has that metallic nature, and is a glossary finish top, back, and sides. But this one was kind of cool to see. Evening Fireburst on a 60 standard for $3,200. You don't find too many quilt tops out of Gibson USA. Occasionally you do, and there's a dealer out there that has an exclusive run, which is what I believe this started life as before they give it a slightly new finish. But that quilt, this cherry sunburst with the dark edge border, matches well with our black plastics that looks like they've been custom shopified as far as our top hat style knobs. And look at that, custom bucker pickups in it as well. Nice rosy looking fretboard. And once again, it's the gold on a standard making it look different. In the back, it's kind of hard for me to tell, but if we adjust the contrast, it looks like the neck does have a burst, like it's darker in these areas. And I'm a big fan of the ringy wood grain. But there's no discount to be had there. But at least they gave you the custom shop case. That's nice. And I like the fact that they pointed it out just in case you didn't know. That one's not too bad if you were looking for a somewhere in between Gibson USA and custom shop level guitar. But now check out Night Luminaries 339 figured. Kind of similar to our wintry one, just a little bit darker, but it's got the flame top. The reflectors work particularly well because it mirrors the binding. It reminds me of like being deep in the ocean, and there's just a few faint light sources coming off a pearl or something. But for me, it's all about the back. The natural neck is to taste, but that combination of very light figuring with the awesome wood grain and that coloring works well. Although kind of expensive at $3,800. And now this one. It's 58 Korina Explorer reissue in Transgerine Sparkle. Yeah, you heard me right. It's supposed to be a translucent tangerine-like finish, but you know what? Here's my problem with this one. It just looks like one of those $5,000 custom shop mahogany ones rather than the beautiful natural Korina. So if you're gonna pay the big bucks to have the Korina, you kind of want to see it, don't you? Or have an exotic, super out there finish. But we can confirm that is the 10K Korina version, so I mean, technically it's nearly $2,500 off. And at least they gave you the matching headstock, which then in turn gave you that ambered over Gibson logo. So you know what? I might be being hard on this due to the stock photography. Since you can see through it, if you happen to have a nice piece of Korina and it dances in the light a little bit, you would still see that. So in many ways, this is like an original 58 that hung out in a bunch of smoky bars. So I've come around a little bit on that one. But then continuing our 80s collection, we've got Silver Mist on a Flying V. $2,800, it's kind of like a government gray finish. Not the most exciting we've seen, but hey, I'll take any of the custom color 80s guitars, because that's like the flagship of that era. But how about Space Rust Sparkle? We don't get too many of the metallic sparkle finishes on the regular Les Paul standard, so it's got that unique element going for it, no pick guard, and a complete refinish, nice, but left the headstock alone. This photo angle shows you that it's going to have like some rockabilly elements to it. For that reason, I'm kind of sad that they didn't throw the P94 pickups in it. This one will likely be a lot more loud in person. I feel this stock photo came off a bit dark. But next, we've got Spring Green Satin 70s Explorer. It's $3,200. Kind of reminds me of Spearmint. It's a friendly looking guitar. Makes me think a leprechaun might play it or something. A lightly tinted green lacquer over the headstock could have been cool. But as many others this week, it was a complete makeover. But we can end out the USA side with Metallic Midnight. Sometimes it's hard to tell if it's intentional or not. If you come down here, yeah, it was supposed to be midnight. That's another one of those ones where it likely looks better in person. It just came across dark. But it's a nice sparkly metallic blue. But check this out. They left the red back. This is one of those color combinations where I think it works pretty well though. And you got a cool like rising sun style grain pattern. But now as far as the European mod collection, we saw their new photo last week and the final ones have shown up. They called the Access Custom Pixie Static for €6,000. So when I say they went all out for this thing, they went all out. That is loud. I kind of like it though as a one-off. I couldn't see them doing too many of these. But if that wasn't boisterous enough, you've got the gold hardware on it with the Floyd Rose. You tell me, was the matching headstock too much? I think it just depends on the lighting situation, but right here, it really does kind of overpower the pearl. It would have been cool had they'd used like a golden pearl inlay material. But flip over to the back, you can see same thing is on the neck. Nice, they just masked off the serial number. And then I thought the back was rather majestic, because it looks like they just painted over the back plates, but since that is black versus the mahogany color, it just looks different. So it nearly gives you a bursted-like effect pattern. But that is one sparkly beast. And then they had a Ebony 335. Looks like they just put gold hardware on it. Looks like they put the 490R, 490T pickups in it too, without changing too much. And then the Les Paul Standard 50s Midnight Velvet. So at first, it's kind of like a satin black. You got your purple pickup rings. Headstock's been blacked out with the nut. Well, then the back is like nearly an entirely different guitar. So it's got that whole really wide pale purple burst, which is kind of cool. The side profile shot's pretty nice. Then as some other Gibson news, they have come out with some new exclusives. So the Les Paul Modern Lite now has an exclusive TV Pelham Blue finish on Gibson's website. I think it looks pretty nice in Pelham Blue. But now they're finally offering the 355 and Diamond F-holes in Production Silver Sparkle Heavy Flake Gloss. That thing's looking very fancy and loud. I'll be curious to see how many they can sell. But then there's also the gold. I think that's the one I would go for because it pulls off the tortoiseshell guard a bit better. But if anybody wants to New Guitar Day one of those, feel free to let me know. Would be happy to document it. Basically taking Dave Grohl vibes, but regular headstock. And they also have some aged double cut, single cut juniors. Looks like the custom made with Bigsby 64 and some black Korinas. But this was big. This is the first time I'm aware that Gibson is offering a stock ebony block vibrola option, you know, outside of the artist's signature guitar. Because prior to that, as far as I was aware, it was just the Brian Ray signature model. But this is a straight up custom. $8,000. You have to get it aged if you want that, but hey, it looks pretty cool. And surprisingly, they also offer it on the SG Standard now, for a little bit less, $6,200. But now let's hop over to the demo shop side of things. Both the European ones did not update this week. Again, I think it's because the London Gibson garage opening, they're probably putting all their manpower at that. But USA demo shop picked up the slack a bit. First off, we don't have a guitar in here. We have one of those super ultra high-end master model mandolin reissues. Did not expect to see one of these. It's still $15,000 and listed as fair condition. But these are just beautiful little instruments. You've got a nice figured back, and you just have to appreciate the craftsmanship behind these models. Otherwise, you just might think, okay, why is this little tiny thing $15,000? But yeah, apparently the finish chipped or got dinged or something. That must be so frustrating to work so hard on this guitar and then a few little finish blemishes and you have to send it to the demo shop. I was shocked to actually see it marked demo. But please keep in mind, those are $20,000 brand new. So believe it or not, that is a pretty hefty price cut. Next up, we had an interesting Les Paul Modern figure. $2,200 is a decent discount. Looks like it's got a pretty nice top. But the back is why I wanted to show it to you. Look at those headstock wings. I mean, this happens a lot. They're always going to be a different color. But there's such a stark contrast here, you know. Very light, dark, light. Then we had a deep purple 335. This listing got me thinking, what if they bring the dark purple burst to the 335? That would make me pretty excited, especially if they brought it to the figured 335. Now this is one I just mistakenly thought was ebony, but if you read the title, it says it's Brunswick Hawaiian Blue. Can't really tell in this photo, or that one, but the keen-eyed viewers would see it a bit here, and then you really zoom in there, you can tell. So now let's adjust the contrast and you can see a little bit more. It's a beautiful guitar. and they're asking a little over $5,000. But speaking of weird guitars you don't see in the demo shop often, here's a 1942 reissue Banner Southern Jumbo, left-handed. I didn't even know they made those. It's got all the pre-war goodness, rosewood back and sides. But I never thought about that before. Normally this inlay style slopes this way, but I never thought to consider that a left-handed version of that guitar would need to flip the inlays on top of it. I'm curious, which way do you think they look better? Then they also had this cool wrap tail that sold quick. It was the double gold that they had the black plastics to. Oh, and on top of that, they extra golded it out. We got the gold pole pieces and your securing bits there, your screws. It looks like they might have rose gold treatment this, so gold studs, but a chrome tailpiece. The golden tuners, front and back. This one made it to the demo shop due to nut issues. That seems to be the biggest reason why things end up in the demo shop. And lastly, a beautiful AAA quilted honeyburst. Seeing that it's an exclusive finish, that's nice that it ended up in the demo shop because that's Gibson's way of getting to sell those too. And that's a sizable discount. I can see why this thing sold so fast. It's a pretty nice top. All right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this week's recap. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.